The Story of a Mandarin. Quan Tru's parents were young. He was raised and educated by uncles and aunts in the village. At the age of 18 he got married. His main occupation is fishing and fishing in the river. His wife went to the forest to pick firewood. Although the couple worked very diligently, life was still poor. Working as a fisherman, he had to wake up before the chicken coop to go to the river to set his hooves since the fish were hungry, and stay up late to catch fish to play with the moon. Because he had to stay up late and get up early so many times, he slept on the banks of rivers and streams. One day, there was heavy frost and the wind whistled intermittently. Quan Tru sat late at night, his eyes narrowed. Finally, he leaned his back against a large tree and fell asleep without realizing it. A group of people passed by and saw him lying curled up under the tree. One of them took off the shirt he was wearing and covered him. The sky was bright and he woke up. Seeing a shirt that he didn't know belonged to, he put it on and returned home. He returned home while his wife was preparing to go looking for firewood. The strange thing is that Quan Tru called his wife, walked close to her, but his wife still did not see her husband. It was not until Quan Tru took off his shirt that his wife saw her husband. Knowing that the shirt had the magic of invisibility, he happily kept it at the head of the bed to wait for a chance to use it. That year, the king collected a lot of gold and silver and put it in his treasury to spend on building a castle and palace. People in the country are increasingly hungry. Quan Tru and his wife also fell into poverty. One day, he put on magic clothes and went straight to the capital. He tried to enter the king's treasury to steal some gold and silver for his own use. He entered the gate. The guards, with beaked eyes, still did not see him. Quan Tru walked out holding a handful of silver. The soldiers were also clueless. The first time he got silver, he saw more clearly the value of the magic robe. He entered the warehouse a second or third time, but no one discovered him. From then on, every day he went to the king's treasury to get gold and silver to distribute to the villagers. Then gradually he distributed the gold and silver to the poor people around the area. Everyone was very impressed. Because I use the magic shirt every day, the shirt has tears. Seeing that his shirt was torn, he cut a piece of paper and glued it together, so every time he walked around wearing the magic shirt, people saw the patched pimples jumping around like a butterfly flying in the air. Every day we went in to check. When the military officials saw that the king's gold treasury was dwindling more and more, they were surprised and questioned the guards. The soldiers were also very surprised because every day they guarded carefully and never saw anyone bothering them. But why was there such a thing as a theft? They discussed paying more attention to guarding. Throughout the next day, they saw no strangers except for a butterfly flying back and forth. But in the afternoon, when they looked at the pile of gold again, they saw that 4 bars of gold were missing. They thought far and wide, or maybe the butterfly stole it. They immediately prepared to hunt the butterfly. The next day, another butterfly flew in. The net immediately collapsed, and it was immediately captured. Quan Tru was immediately arrested. They took him to the king. The king then ordered him sent to prison to await trial. People around the area, upon hearing that Quan Tru was imprisoned, immediately gathered to meet the king and unanimously asked for forgiveness for him. But the king sent soldiers to chase them out of the palace. The next morning, while the king and his court officials were having a meeting to discuss the punishment of Quan Tru, he suddenly heard an emergency report outside the border that the enemy army was as numerous as ants, aggressively advancing deep into the country to rob and kill people. Hearing the news, the king panicked and immediately postponed the trial of Quan Tru and focused his efforts on fighting the enemy. The enemy was as strong as a storm. The king's army was defeated everywhere. They were heading straight towards the capital. The king trembled, the military generals, and civil servants turned pale, because as many troops were deployed as they were destroyed. There were people talking about hanging flags, the queen, concubines as well as the old ladies of the Mandarins all cried. People in the capital cried out loudly, everyone frantically looking for a place to take refuge. Suddenly someone remembered Quan Tru as a man with many miracles, so he immediately asked the king to forgive him so that he could use his talent to defeat the enemy to save the country and save the people. The king was very angry with Quan Tru for taking away more than 700 gold bars from his treasury, but thinking of the throne, the king immediately agreed to his words, ordered him to pardon him and sent him to lead the army to fight the enemy. The king promised, "If you can defeat the enemy, I will not only forgive your death but also grant you the title of Prime Minister, enjoying the highest honor among the civil and military ranks." Quan Tru was released while the enemy was rumbling. Came to surround the capital, while everyone was confused and panicked. After receiving the king's orders, Quan Tru immediately pulled his army outside the city and stationed it in a place. He told them, "Let me go to the camp. The enemy is spying on the situation. You guys should be ready to wait for my order to advance and destroy the enemy." Having finished speaking, he put on his magic robe and went straight to the enemy's camp to search everywhere. The soldiers were as numerous as ants, but no one saw him. While the enemy general was ferociously urging his troops to attack, Quan Tru snatched his sword, screamed, and cut the man in half before he could yawn. The enemy troops who had lost their generals were in an uproar like bees in a hive. They trampled on each other and fled all the way to the border. Not one of them dared to look back. Having won the victory, Quan Tru returned to the camp, led his soldiers to chase and destroy. After winning the battle, Quan Tru was ordered by the king to arrange a banquet for him. The king appointed him prime minister amid the cheers of the soldiers and military officials of the court. After that, he asked the king to cancel the order to collect gold and silver from the people to build a castle, and asked to distribute the gold and silver in the treasury to the poor. The king listened unanimously. Hundreds of families were well off. The country returned to peace and joy. Later, when Quan Tru died, people built a temple to remember his achievements. According to Mr. Hoang Hoi Toai Sao Bang Town. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.